It's 4 million in demolition.
So you could, there's pluses and minuses.
Right.
Okay, yeah,
So those are offsets.
all right, okay, yeah.
Okay, I have a question on the code.
Sure.
I didn't read it. What is out of code? Or what is that's critical with the code? Is it health and safety or just?
Well, there are some safety things that definitely are part of that. In terms of if we renovate, then we open up certain areas where then we are basically by law, we have to then update. And that's where they said we
Fire
don't
safety,
know
air
what we'll
exchange
find.
issues that are different code compliance today than they were 2 years ago.
And so that's that unknown that really
It's an unknown contingency
could
at this
cost
point.
a very high number.
Yeah.
Do you have asbestos or lead issues at the school?
There are asbestos areas where there are asbestos, most of which is either contained or it's in the floors. I'm sorry. Encapsulated.
But if the building is demolished, then they're going to have remediation.
Now, whether you stay here or you don't, that's not for me to say if I'm taking it the wrong way. There is demolition scheduled for the schools. In order to satisfy whatever needs to be done, this building size, this
If we stay here, there's going to have to be some demolition, or, the cost factor is 460,000 square feet.
Right.
The space penalty would be much higher.
Right.
So the return, the percentage of return on the reimbursement would be lower.
would be impacted.
Yes, significantly, which makes it again, not as doable a set of circumstances. But if we go elsewhere, looking at the idea that the sale of this property would be as is, you get what you get, and let somebody else handle the
Scrape it,
demolition.
let somebody else's,
Right.
the buyer.
Yep. So we can head actually over to the hallway auditorium area and then kind of look over around.
And obviously, whoever buys it have that figure.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. And factor in your rent on it.
Summer. Just
Yeah, it
to
looks-
give it a little bit more
Yeah, it
of
looks very
a
good.
cleaner feel.
Yeah.
There were probably about 5 different shades of blue. There were some pieces of wood that were exposed. Just wasn't
No, it looks
clean.
awesome.
You know, and that was
Good job.
important for the kids to have a very clean place that they were from.
Right. Well, the thing is that if you use the raw numbers, it looks like that's
I have productions and storage. Believe it or not, in a building this size, you would think that we'd have enough storage to keep certain things, props and seating. We don't. So we kind of play with where things are located and put them away as we can. But on a day-to-day basis, there shouldn't be stuff in the hallway, but there generally is because of the fact that we do have limited storage, which some people are surprised about.
Right.
So
And this is-
this was from our recent chorus concert.
Oh,
so-
okay.
And this is just part of the setup for the chorus concert.
And you're utilizing this whole 665,000 square feet.
Well, most
Most
of the
of it.
space is dedicated to hallways and corridors that don't have any
But you're
efficient
gonna have that in the
use.
new school too.
Correct.
They're
Well,
gonna shrink it down.
We're
If
gonna
you
build it
a new
up.
building, That's gonna be 2 stories.
yeah, build it up and have a more efficient footprint that makes every nook and cranny usable.
This is an entrance or just?
This is a separate entrance for the auditorium. Again, the auditorium being our most populated, if not the second most populated, for gym.
This is 300 or 700?
700. But we have 2 facilities right now. If we did stay here, this would need to be addressed. For the women's room, there's only 2 toilets, and in big functions, it's not accommodating, and that's been tough,
That's understandable.
you know?
It's always been a complaint.
Yes, and why men get the same amount, I don't know, you guys
We're
just don't
quicker,
spend a
we're
lot of
quicker.
time, I know.
We're quicker, we don't have to do the dress.
Architecture looking at it. I mean, part of their process.
Now, it's kind of dark in here, those lights tend to take a little bit of time to get on, but we can keep all this.
Is this relatively new?
The chairs are actually new when I first got here in 2007.
Yeah, the beginning of, we did it the summer between 2007 and that year, 2007.
When was this built? The auditorium?
You can look on the,
Oh, okay.
we could look on here and,
Oh, I see, okay.
There was a fire in the, like, mid-'80s that they did for the theater department, and people remember that. But again, you can see that one of the challenges is that this is a space that's used by the community, by the school frequently, and in consideration of where we go, the sense of space is something that everyone has said that they would like to have, the type of theater auditorium that you're looking at.
which is part of what's going to add to the cost of in a new site, because they're going to go beyond what the
Right.
state will permit.
Correct.
I'd ask,
And impact, even if you were renovating here, the square footage here adds to that total package, so that if, in effect, that 115,000, whatever it ends up, the final number being based on the updated enrollment, this square footage counts. So even though they don't penalize you specifically for having an oversized auditorium, they don't tell you can't do it. The issue is that they, as part of their process, they say this is what makes sense for a high school, and then any of that square footage beyond that counts towards the total. So if we maintain this space, it's going to count against
The
this.
state is saying, the town of Clinton wants to use this for personal, not personal, but functions that
Right.
deal with the general population of the town, plays, whatever. We're not going to subsidize that
Correct.
portion of the auditorium. You want it, you pay for it.
Correct.
I mean, that's the state
And
standard.
And that's, again, given the existing building or on a new facility.
Yeah, and this is normal throughout the country, that high schools in a town of this size
Yeah.
would, the auditorium will
Gets
fill that
used.
function.
Yep,
Yep.
often it
This
does.
is a beautiful space.
And we need it.
and I'd ask you, at one of the meetings, if you had a number on what you think you get in revenue off of the,
I don't have.
you didn't do that?
No, at this point.
Okay. But I'd be interested in that at some point. I've asked for that, so it'd be good to kind of know.
Yep. Well, and a number of events that are, continual, that each year they have events here, dances and different musicals and
Yeah.
things that they like.
But the reality is that, it's not expansive at this point in terms of what we get for revenue, largely because a lot of the folks who are using it are, what the chamber uses it, or for the concert series, for the Coast Guard band. Those are all things that are no charge to the community at all. So it's not a revenue.
Get a value out of it, but not a revenue producer. Right.
Now, would a lot of the equipment that's in this school be moved to a new school? Would that be a feasible thing to do, or would that be impractical? Like, for example, these seats are, they look like they're almost brand new. Is that what would happen, or would these just be jumped, or how
We're
does it
asking
work?
those questions, specifically even in our planning phase. We're talking about things that could be taken.
Right, furniture and equipment and
Yeah.
what needs to be new, what doesn't have to,
Could be used.
what can be
That
salvaged.
means the new gymnasium, new auditorium will have to reflect this exactly the way it is for these seats to work this
Right.
way.
Right.
You can't have more of an incline. To a certain degree, you can. I'm not an engineer, but they can fluctuate the floor. And then one has to consider what's the cost to take out and put back to transport. They're new. Can you sell them to the town of East Brew looking for furniture? Maybe.
Well,
There's other schools.
the town auditorium
Yeah.
could use some new
Right.
seats.
That's true. Those
Where?
are.
The town.
Right, the town auditorium.
Fit
Yeah.
before you just,
All right, we'll head out.
That's right.
We go out this way.
okay.
It should be